I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. Gonzalo Rubalcaba is a Grammy-winning Cuban pianist and composer, celebrated as one of the most innovative voices in modern jazz. He'll be performing at Indy Jazz Fest on September 19. Born in Havana in 1963 to a musical family, Gonzalo Rubalcaba was classically trained before emerging as a prodigy of the city's vibrant jazz scene. His virtuosic technique quickly drew international attention, leading to collaborations with legends like Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Haden, and Herbie Hancock. Gonzalo has recorded over 40 albums, and in 1999, Piano and Keyboard magazine named him one of the best pianists of the 20th century. Gonzalo will join me in a moment, but first, let's hear a track from his 2020 album, Viento y Tiempo, live at Blue Note Tokyo. This is Rumba Callejera. That was Gonzalo Rubalcaba with Rumba Callejera. He'll be performing at Indy Jazz Fest on September 19th at the Schrott Center for the Arts. Let's join my conversation with Gonzalo Rubalcaba. Gonzalo, you'll be performing in Indianapolis on September 19th. It's an honor to have you on the program. Thank you so much for taking time to speak to our listeners in Indiana.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're going to be here for Indy Jazz Fest. And I'm curious if this is your first time performing in Indianapolis. I couldn't find any dates for you playing here.
That's correct. That's the first time.
Wow, that's wild. Well, we're excited to have you. I want to ask about your connection to one of the greatest jazz icons of all time. I think it's been exactly 40 years since you first played with Dizzy Gillespie at the Havana Jazz Festival in 1985. You've said that meeting Dizzy Gillespie was a turning point in your life. Can you tell us a bit about your relationship with him and what he meant to you, your career, and your music and your life?
Well, it was definitely a turning point. Dizzy arrived in Cuba in 85. I think that was his third time in Havana. I was very lucky. I was playing with my band in a cabaret, kind of cabaret. This place is part of one of the most iconic hotels in Havana. The National Hotel is a hotel from the 30s and have a lot of stories. Dizzy was, he stayed at the hotel. I didn't know that he was there. And I was playing my concert, and he came down to the cabaret to see what was happening there. At the same time, I think he was asking for to have some food and to eat something. At the end of the show, he came back to stage, and he asked to talk to me. And then I had a translator, and he said, Dizzy is here, and he wants to invite you to play tomorrow his show. And I thought that was a joke. Yep, it was real. He said to me that he enjoyed the concert and he wanted to play the duet piece of music with me. And he asked me if I agree. So, well, I'm not even believe that this is happening right now, but of course. So he said, well, what we can play tomorrow? And I said, con alma. Because for those strange reasons in life, a week before or maybe 10 days before that happened, a friend of mine passed me a real book just for a few days. And then I tried to see as much as I could the museum there, and I found out this piece, Con Alma. and I fell in love with this music. You had no idea how Dizzy helped me at that point in my career. That was the beginning of my career as a band leader. When Dizzy proposed that, everything changed. So I discovered that Dizzy was not only the band leader in terms of, as a professional, but he was a band leader also in terms of the human being that was him. He was a guy with tremendous vision of humanity, and the history proved that. How many people he support, how many young players he helped to be up there in front of people. And I had the opportunity to play with him 2 more times. He invited me to play in Canada in Montreal Jazz Festival. And the last time was in Cuba too, in 1989. That was the last time I saw him. And in 93, unfortunately, I was watching TV and I see the news that he passed away. I couldn't play in America until his death. He tried many times to bring me to America to play with him. First, Cuba didn't allow me to do it. And then second, America didn't give me visa. So finally, I got the visa to be part of the memory service for him when he passed away. But I wasn't allowed to play in that event. But that was the beginning of my relationship with the American audience.
I think you were 22 years old when you first played with him in 1985. Was it intimidating to go on stage with this iconic musician?
Oh, definitely. I was nervous, and I was also full of love and wish. I don't know, because sometimes when something like that dimension happened to you, I don't think that you are totally conscious of what is happening. You know that's a great opportunity. You know it's something extraordinary, something special, but you need time to really visualize what was happening there. I was probably not prepared enough to play with him, and but I definitely appreciate that opportunity that he gave me. Now I see the video. And it provoked me happiness. I love to see what I was trying to do with him and trying to play his music. But it was a big moment. It was definitely a big moment for me, and I really appreciate that.
One of the things I love about music and art is the way it brings people together. And Dizzy was really gifted at bringing people together at a time when relationships were difficult between Cuba and the United States. He was a champion of Cuban culture and Afro-Cuban music. You know, I've talked to Arturo Sandoval and Ignacio Baroa, and they've talked about their experiences with Dizzy Gillespie. His connection to Cuba goes back further to the 40s and 50s with Mario Bauza, Chano Pozo, Machito, Chico O'Farrill. Can you talk about Dizzy's place in Cuban music history? Does he have a place in the history of Cuban music?
I think he have it. He definitely have it. Because he was, his concept to use the Cuban rhythm, the Cuban heritage, the Cuban roots, was beyond any fashion. He was not looking to make people happy about, to use part of the sound of the moment. He was looking for the essence of the Cuban, our Afro-Cuban music. And he created perfect mix, a very well balanced between American music and the Cuban or Afro-Cuban music. He was very sincere in the way that he created that bridge with the Afro-Cuban music. When you hear the music that he composed, taking the Afro-Cuban music as part of his compositions, there's nothing out of place. Everything working a very good balance, the form, the melodies, the rhythm, every aspect is very well processed, very well composed. So Dizzy, again, was not looking for fashion. He was looking for art.
Gonzalo, I understand you grew up in a very cultural neighborhood in Havana, Cayo Hueso. This neighborhood produced many great musicians, including you, your father, your grandfather, so many great musicians. We have a place like this in Indianapolis. It's called Indiana Avenue. And from this neighborhood, Indiana Avenue, musicians like Wes Montgomery, Freddie Hubbard, J.J. Johnson, Slide Hampton, the Ink Spots, Leroy Vinegar. I could keep naming important musicians. They all came from this neighborhood. I want to ask you about Cayo Hueso, but first I'm curious if you ever had a chance to meet or work with any of these musicians like Freddie Hubbard or Slide Hampton. Did you ever have a chance to meet them?
I've met Freddie Hubbard once, actually twice. The first time was in Brazil. Herbie Hancock was the director of a tribute done in Brazil to Tom Jobim. And Herbie put together a super band with Ron Carter, Harvey Mason on drums, Ale Acuna on percussion, I think Joe Henderson on saxophone, Freddie Hubbard, and many, many, many others. And Herbie called me to be part of this event. I remember to see Freddie 3 days before we played the concert as part of the rehearsal. And unfortunately, he decided to quit and come back to LA because he felt right to play. He was already with the problem in his lips. And that was very unfortunate. But then the second time it was in LA. I was playing in Carolina Jazz Club in LA. And the second show, one of my second shows, I suddenly saw Freddie Hubbard sitting in the table practically in front of me. And I couldn't believe that he was there. It was a great moment because he was very humble. And at the end of the show, he came back to the dressing room. We hugged. And he was... I remember he was crying because he said he wasn't able to play it anymore. He was already in trouble with lips, and that process at the end of his life, that was very sad. But that was the only 2 times that I had the chance to talk to him and to see him.
I mentioned the neighborhood you came from, Cayo Hueso. Lots of famous musicians came from this neighborhood. I think Los Zafiros, Omar Portundo. I think Chano Pozo came from this neighborhood, Changuito, lots of great players. Why is this neighborhood, why has it produced so many great musicians? Do you have a sense? And what did you learn from this neighborhood?
That was the question the permanent question for everybody that knows about this place in Cuba. What is the reason behind that place? Why many musicians, and not only musicians, professionals of art in general, actors, actresses, painters, dancers, many of them, people from the TV show, very popular people from TV show, from radio shows too. I could not say what is the reason behind that. But anyway, I think the most important is to be able to say that I was part of that community. It was a unique environment to live. It's a place where people live with the front door open and the windows open, is that you are able to know and to listen everything that happening around. The good and bad, everything, exactly, literally everything. And you can hear a mix of different radio stations and different music coming from different houses. And that was the type of life that we had there. Kids around, running around the neighborhood in the streets, and a lot of music. So you can hear all kind of music. And then you can hear me trying to play Mozart or Beethoven, but at the same time you can hear the Zafiros and the house in front of you, or the one on the other side of your house. You can hear rumba or Benny Moré.
La noche y tú. La noche y tú. La noche y tú. Vive la luna enamorada. Y al contemplarle su mirada.
I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. If you're just tuning in, my guest this week is the legendary Cuban pianist Gonzalo Rubalcaba. He'll be performing at Indy Jazz Fest on September 19. Let's return to our conversation. Gonzalo, before we go, I want to mention your latest album. I think our listeners will be very interested in this record. It's a beautiful record. You just recently issued an album, a tribute to Nat King Cole and Benny Moré, who you just mentioned. These are two iconic singers of the 20th century. Nat King Cole was born in Alabama in 1919, and Benny Moré was born in Cienfuegos, Cuba in 1919. Tell me what these singers have in common and why you wanted to celebrate them on this album together.
Well, I think they never met. They never met, but they were both icons of a large audience that followed them until the end, and still today. Nat King Cole probably was the pioneer of what we know today of a crossover. I mean, for Cuban people, for Latin people, they love those volumes he made in Spanish.
Siempre que te pregunto que cuándo, cómo y dónde, tú siempre me respondes, quizás, quizás, quizás. Y así pasan los días.
I met Nat King Cole first as a piano player. Bruce Lumbaugh, the president of Blue Note Record, and also he was president of CBS Columbia Record. He gave me a box, a gift. It was a gift, a box of all the recordings of Nat King Cole. And I think it was by Blue Notes, or I don't know. I think it was by Blue Note Record.
Capitol, maybe?
Oh, Capitol.
Yeah,
Capitol Record. Capitol Record. Yeah, exactly. And then I discovered this amazing piano player, improviser, creative, fresh, virtuoso. this is exactly what we have on Benny Moré. Benny Moré was a virtuoso in the way he created his own personality, musical personality, his voice, his charisma to make the people follow him, to make the people get in love with him in the first second. How clear he was about how to shape the Cuban music at that moment. He was using an instrumental format that was very American, the jazz band, but he made that format to sound very Cuban.
¿Cómo fue? No sé decirte cómo fue. No sé explicarme qué pasó, pero de ti me enamoré.
Unfortunately, I think they never met, but I think they're alive. They're definitely alive. The music, they did it very present. We're not talking about an object of a museum. No. We're talking about something totally full of life.
Gonzalo, you'll be here in Indianapolis on September 19th for Indy Jazz Fest. Any final thoughts you want to share with our listeners? Anything you want to say about the concert?
I'm definitely very excited and very happy to play at the festival in Indianapolis for the first time. And I'm bringing the trio with Eddie Haden and Ricky Rodriguez. Both we had been running around the world in the last 2.5 years, playing for different audiences. In this case, it's Indy Jazz Festival, hoping that the people get animated to come to the concert, and we can share that moment. I'm very grateful, and thank you for the opportunity.
Love your music. It was an honor to feature you on the program. Thank you so much, Gonzalo.
Thank you.
We've been listening to my conversation with Gonzalo Rubalcaba. Let's end with a track from his 2023 album, Borrowed Roses. This is Take 5.
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Bloomington, home to the Indiana Hoosiers and over 200,000 acres of fall foliage in the Hoosier National Forest. Enjoy in-seasonal flavors at local restaurants, experience views atop 4 fire towers, or catch a Big Ten football game at Memorial Stadium. Plan your fall getaway at visitbloomington.com.